Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett from Weaver Leather Supply, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a leather element, drop it in the comment box below. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. So here's one for the newer folks. Well, it may help a lot of us out, but this is a question in a comment I have seen the entire time I've been in leathercraft. Someone in our family passes away. They leave us their leathercraft kit. Well, if you pick up leathercraft, great way to remember them. Hallelujah. But also, we're at a flea market or a garage sale, and we see a box of setters for $1. Well, we're leathercrafters. We're not going to pass that bargain up. But what do all these things do? I'm going to see if I can help you get this figured out. So let's start with some of the most common setters. And that's our snap setters. Now, one problem here, and we're going to kill two birds with one stone because I get a lot of comments from folks, I've crushed the post in my snap. Most likely, it's because of our setter. Notice how very similar our line 24 and our 20 setters are. In fact, a little more prominent here with our 4-piece setter set. Yeah, now we can see a good bit of difference, but nonetheless, I always mark my line 24 setters because I use a line 24 regularly, the line 20 not so much. This is for a thinner leather, but one of the problems here, that post, very thin metal. So it's very tough to get our post to roll down in our snap like we want it. But we've also got a Segma setter. In fact, I don't know if I've ever seen a box of setters that didn't have the Segma in it. Now here, we need two different setters. For our 20 and our 24, same setter will do both sides. But down here with our post, that's for setting our cap. And then right here with our indent, that's for setting the base. All right, next up, how about some rivet setters? The setters for our double cap, Jiffy rivets and tubular rivets, relatively easy to identify. Now, for our double cap and our Jiffy, all we're looking for here is a concaved end. In fact, that's from our 4-piece setter set. That's our rivet setter. That's going to keep us from flattening the cap when we set this. That'll leave that domed. And again, multiple sizes. Oddly enough, that's my first rivet setter. I still have it. Notice how that's mushroomed? That's because I used a metal hammer. So if we go with rawhide, we'll protect our tools. Now, on our tubular rivets, these are sized, so let's make sure we get the right size setter for the size rivet. But on these, easy to identify, actually looks like a pizza cutter. So with these, we're going to come through from our top grain. There we go. Now our setter is going to star out our post on the back side. Very solid, very secure rivet. And in fact, at Weaver, we've got a cap that will even cover that. But this is funny because the one place I use my tubular rivet setter the most, it makes a great stamp design. In fact, that's one of my favorite designs. Eyelet setters and grommet setters, typically a little bit similar. They're basically doing the same job, but again, easy to identify. Now, for the newer folks, let's back up because there's a little bit of a difference between an eyelet and a grommet. Now, on eyelets, these are size specific with setter and anvil. We'll get a better look at those, but these are typically smaller and they're one piece. So we're going to come through our top grain, and then we're going to peen down the throat on that. That's going to curl down. Actually looks pretty good, okay? So we're protecting the integrity of the hull. Now a grommet takes that one step further. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to come through from our top grain, but now we've got a collar on the back. So we're going to protect the hull, but we're also strengthening the area around the hull. That's why we see those on tarps all the time. Now on these, traditionally only the larger sizes, but now we've got grommets that go all the way down into the eyelet sizes. With these, the setter is going to be a little bit more expensive. But in all honesty, for that, the price isn't bad. That's going to last us forever. And then over on our eyelets, we can absolutely get a small hand setter. There's our anvil, and there's our post. So again, relatively easy to identify. If we're not familiar with copper rivets and burrs, these setters are going to look odd, but actually, they're a big help to us. Now, the copper rivets and burrs, I say copper, but we've got these in brass as well. These are heavy-duty rivets. If we want a rivet that's not ever going to come out, that's the direction we want to go. But also notice, Some of these can be huge. Now, these are sized, and it's just like wire. The lower the number, the thicker the post. So right here, number 12, that's a number 9. Now, on our setters, we're going to have a hole, that'll make sense in just a minute, and a concaved area. Well, right off the bat, you can tell the difference between the cheap and the weaver. Best part here, on this cheap, I don't know what size it is. They don't go to the trouble to tell us, but on the weaver, number 12. Yeah, how easy is that? Now with these, we're going to go with the number 12 half inch. This is 2 8/9s back to back. So I'm going to drop those on. Let's take a burr, drop that down. So right here, we've got a hole. I'm going to put that on the rivet, and that's actually going to set that burr down on the rivet. Now, if we've got a lot of extra posts there, again, we could use a number 9 there and simply clip it off. Let's go the weaver nippers, and I'm going to cut that off just about 1/8 of an inch up. Yeah, tough rivet. Now, with our concaved end, we can drop that right on that rivet, and we can hammer that down. That's going to spread the post and make a nice dome. Or what I like to do, let's take a ball peen. Now, I can work that around. It's going to give it a very hand-forged look. But again, great rivets. Now that setter makes sense. For those of us with a little more experience, we are absolutely going to recognize these two tools. For the folks that are new, these are for setting our letter stamps. And these really add a nice touch to our projects. In fact, common product in our shops. Now, all the years I've been in leathercraft, I've only seen these two sizes. I've never seen a third. So these are common across retailers, but we've got a smaller. This is typically for our 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch letter sets. And then right here, our standard sets, say 3/4 inch and 1 inch. So those are our setters. That's how we'll be able to set our letter stamps. But also right here, this is called a ram foot. This is going to help us set our stamps, because what we'll do, let's put our post in the ram foot. Now we can set that down on our stamp. That's going to give us more pressure in a wider area, but also because that's a big, sturdy, stable tool, I can see exactly where straight up and down is. That helps me get a more consistent stamp. We've seen a majority of the more common setters in our shop, so let's wrap up here. We're going to go with one I have not seen in years, but it's a useful little tool. In fact, we don't even sell this guy. I'm just bringing it up in case we do see this in our setter box. So I love the button studs. We have these in multiple sizes and finishes, but typically these have a screw post. We simply screw them on, just like a Concho or a Chicago screw, but the more heavy duty, more old school actually have a post that we have to rivet these together, and these will not come apart. So if we bring that up through our leather, flush side to top grain, and we drop that down, we can set that with our mallet. It's going to tear up our mallet, and we're going to ding our leather, absolutely. So this little anvil, we're going to flip, there we go, flip that over. Top grain down, we're going to set this from the back. Let's drop the post in. Now, we could just set that with our mallet, but what I find, it's hard to keep that even. So when we hit that, it's actually going to ding our leather. So let's take our setter. In fact, in this case, it's our rivet setter, but I'm going to use the flattened end on that. So that actually acts perfectly as a setter, and I can hit that. That is one Sam Browne or button stud that's not coming out. Once we figure out what all of our setters do, the best thing to do there, let's keep those in the box with whatever they set. That's excellent advice, and I should take that. But I do hope this is good information. Hope it helps you out. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.